We need to talk about Kamala, or excuse me, President Harris. That's what Joe Biden calls her. You see how giddy she is in this picture? She's often giddy when it's about her, but when it's about America, she becomes very glum and she highlights anything negative about the United States. The Boulder, Colorado shooting, a horrible, horrible event. We lost 10 of our neighbors, Americans, right? Here he is. This is what they're not telling you about him, that he is a Trump hater. He is believed to be Muslim. He has perceived Islamic persecution throughout his life. And most news outlets are ignoring the fact that he was born in Syria. Again, media and Democrats. Now, for Kamala Harris, who made an appearance today on network television, it was all about, after kind of perfunctory mention of the victims, she wanted to change the conversation, or maybe it was changed for her, to talk about Atlanta and the hate crime that happened there. That's what they all are insisting, that last week it was a hate crime. And that gave her another opportunity to badmouth this country.
Look, you've got 6 Asian American women in Asian American businesses. And, you know, just when you look at it, you have to ask this question, which is, what is going on? And the seriousness of AAPI hate crime, especially over the course of the last year, is profound. I think we have to be clear that we have a history in America that we need to deal with, a history that included the Chinese Exclusion Act as a law, that we interned Japanese Americans who also fought for the liberties of Americans in war, and we have this rise in hate crimes. We also need to speak the truth about our history and not gloss over it. We need to also talk about what we must do to really think about how we define who is an American.
We know our history. She is the Vice President of the United States. We already know about the mistakes America made, all right? What about unifying the country, what Joe Biden promised to do? Remember that? And notice her demeanor, again, when she talks about America in these terms. When she's talking about herself, not only does she light up, her entire family lights up. I want to bring her niece into this conversation. Yeah, her niece. Her name is Mina Harris, and it's not some distant relative. They're in touch. They like each other. She had a big speaking role at the Democratic National Convention.
You're showing my daughters and so many girls around the world who look like them what's possible and what it's like to move through the world as fierce, formidable, phenomenal women in their own unique way. We're so proud of you, Auntie.
Proud, proud, proud of Kamala, and Kamala is proud of herself. But the problem is that they don't seem to be particularly into America. They don't seem to appreciate America. This ignorant person, Mina Harris, niece of the vice president, tweeted this, and I think it's worthy to show again. Let's go ahead. This is before we knew the identity of the shooter. She said the Atlanta shooting was not even a week ago. Violent white men are the greatest terrorist threat to our country. She had to delete it when she found out the truth. But look at this. I deleted a previous tweet about the suspect in the Boulder shooting. I made an assumption based on his being taken into custody alive and the fact that the majority of mass shootings in the U.S. are carried out by white men. This is what she believes about America. Again, very, very close to her aunt, the vice president. They take pictures together all the time. And also, they had a great big book project. Mina apparently got a little bit carried away being the niece of the vice president. Kamala and Maya's big idea. A lot of people at the White House didn't like this. Now, you would think that those horrible, ugly tweets from the niece of the vice president, and they're very close, might have been brought up in that interview this morning. Gayle King did not bring it up. How about that, huh? Are you surprised? The mainstream media not trying to, not bringing something like that up? Why would Gayle not go there, huh? Because she's probably friends with these people, all right? She runs in those circles. She certainly does. Maybe if she's not that friendly with Kamala, I know she's pretty friendly with Barack Obama. And guess who's friendly with Barack Obama as well? Kamala Harris, okay? They've got a lot in common, these two. It's all about looks. It's all about optics. Barack Obama and Kamala Harris I'm talking about right now. I thought this was amazing, and I want to show it to you again. This photograph of her arriving in Florida, which is handling COVID. Hey, Florida, help is here. This is a Twitter message, and this is the picture that she posted with this message. It's just me getting off a plane. Aren't I fabulous? Just me showing up. That is enough. She really is a silly and vain woman. I'm sorry. We're all seeing it. We're all getting to know you, Kamala. How about your reaction to, should you go to the border? Why would you go to the border? There's a crisis there, right? I mean, this is a problem. They asked her. Here's her response.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today.
Life's grand. She gets to fly on jets and she gets to go on network TV, and they don't ask her any questions that are too challenging. And the media are going along with the administration's narrative that the killings in Boulder, very unfortunate event. It's time to talk about gun control. They're not talking about the obvious, that the shooter, his background, his perceived persecution for being Islamic, what else? His anti-Trump posts on Facebook. They're not going there. Watch this.
Several law enforcement officials tell NBC News the 21-year-old suspect appears to have a history of mental health problems, which may have been a significant factor in the shooting. The arrest warrant affidavit reveals he lived with family members 20 miles from the crime scene. Police say a black Mercedes C sedan registered to one of the suspect's brothers was found on the scene with a green rifle case in the front passenger compartment.
Looks like they're giving you a lot of information, but they really aren't. They really aren't. The key things that folks want to know about, what motivated him, it's not there. And yes, all of these mass shooters have mental problems. We know that. But again, he's a Trump hater. There's a digital trail of that. He perceives that he's being persecuted because he's Muslim. There's a digital trail of that. But that doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the narrative, so they ignore or minimize this information. Now, that clip I just showed you was from the Today Show. As the show went on, about an hour later, they even took that information out of the story.
They say we get started with our news at 8 o'clock. The 21-year-old suspect in Monday's mass shooting in Colorado has been charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder, and now profiles are emerging of the victims and the many lives they touched.
All right, that's it for questions about the suspects. And look, it's right to talk about the victims, but again, these basic facts. Born in Syria, Muslim, perceived Islamic persecuted because of his faith, and a Trump hater. These are key facts. They may not like them, but they are pertinent. Are they? Can we agree on that? I mean, last week, in the aftermath of the Atlanta shooting, somehow, in that case, the race, the faith, all those characteristics were very, very central to decoding what happened in that matter.
Here's the suspect, okay? He is a 21-year-old white man.
This 21-year-old white male mass murderer.
The suspect arrested 150 miles away after a chase is a white man.
The suspect in custody is white. This has not been labeled a hate crime. But on one level, the motive doesn't matter because regardless, it generated fear in the Asian American community.
Now, the matter in Boulder, obviously, is a hate crime, a terrorist attack, a domestic terrorist attack. You can put the word alleged there. I'll put the word alleged there. But the circumstantial evidence is real. There's a hate crime staring him in the face. Yet Atlanta, they're just grasping at straws. They want to call the non-hate crime a hate crime, and the actual hate crime, they just want to call a terrible mass shooting, and we've seen these before. Again, with the hate crime from Atlanta.
There are a lot of intense discussions here about potential hate crimes.
Police not ruling out a hate crime amid a rise in anti-Asian attacks.
It should be called a hate crime.
Authorities have not ruled out whether the crimes were racially motivated.
There are plenty of people who believe that this was a hate crime.
The idea that this was a hate crime.
Officials are not calling this a hate crime, but not ruling it out.
Amazing, right? Pushing an agenda. They really want to call what happened in Atlanta a hate crime when no one's saying that. Law enforcement, the suspect in custody. Yet the situation in Boulder, which clearly seems to be a hate crime, they're just talking about, assault weapons ban and the stuff they often talk about. They're ignoring this, by the way, and I think this is very interesting, discovered by our Logan Raddick. King Soopers, the Boulder grocery store, was advertising your one-stop shop for kosher groceries. Passover is coming up. Were Jews the target of this massacre? It's a good question. I think it's relevant. Why did the gunman pick this store? No one's talking about this. No one's talking about any of these factors. I think they're relevant, they're interesting, and they should be explored. Why run from this information? I don't understand it. Unfortunately, these questions won't bring anybody back, but who knows? If we have too many dishonest conversations in the aftermath of these attacks, maybe we won't be equipped to prevent future attacks. Something to think about. In the meantime, it's time for some Trump truth.
You are fake news.
All right, gun control is the answer to the carnage we've been seeing lately, right? I don't think so. But Joe Biden, he's played that song so many times, it's part of his muscle memory.
I don't need to wait another minute, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save the lives in the future and to urge my colleagues in the House and Senate to act. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. I got that done when I was a senator. It passed. It was law for the longest time. And it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again.
It always turns on the emotion, right? Like any politician. Joe is always just about to get around to doing something, never does anything proactively. In 50 years in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump called him out on that.
And again, he's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community.
That's right. And the far left of the Democrat Party knows it. That 1994 crime bill victimized an awful lot of people.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.